Hi, my friends. How's everyone doing today? I hope everyone is doing fantastic. So, you've passed the test. Celebrate yourself. There comes a time in everyone's life when we reach this point, this, life defining moment. Probably the best way to describe it. And the thing is, most ordinary people, most everyday people, right? And I'm not really judging, I'm just, stating facts and things that it's just the way they are, generally speaking. Most people will go throughout their whole lives without even knowing about this test or acknowledging it. They might get little hints here and there, but the reality is that most people they will just ignore these things. But you're not everyone, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. And when you go through the motions of life and you finally start figuring out how things really are, and then slowly and gradually and eventually naturally, you're gonna reach this point where you're truly gonna be living your life as yourself again. And this is the type of stuff that yeah I could spend some time here explaining this, but there is really no need, especially if you're someone who's been following my content for a while. You know what I'm speaking about. If you're new to the channel, you're welcome. If this is your first video, my advice would be, go back and watch previous videos to kind of have an idea what I'm speaking of here. But what I'm talking about is you're gonna reach this point in your life where you're no longer wearing a mask like everybody else. You're living life authentically as your true self, as everyone should, but most people don't. And it's just the way it is, unfortunately. And when this moment happens, it's kind of it's kind of weird in a way because you know there's no grandiose you know enlightenment or anything like that of that nature that some people may think that that's what happens when it's not the case. You just, like I said, it's a natural process that eventually you reach that point where you will learn to live life on your terms instead of going through the motions like everybody else does, and you know living this mind construct fake created avatar that it's not of their own making to begin with, because it's just the way society is, you know uh, how do you say it again, structured. It's just the way the whole thing is. You grow up absorbing all this information from outside of you, but none of this stuff has anything to do with who you truly are. And once you learn how to rediscover yourself through this process of, learning and growing and self-healing and all these things, if you go through it and you stick with it, eventually you're just gonna shed this old version of you until it's like completely gone. And you're not gonna have this moment where you're gonna feel that much different, in the sense that you're still you, but you look at things from a completely different perspective now. The perspective of the self, the perspective of the one who lives in presence, the one who lives in the now, the one who's never, worry about things all the time, choosing to live in their own fear, self-doubting themselves, self-imposing all these limitations that you made yourself believe that you couldn't do certain things because whatever reason, it doesn't really matter. You get the point. And when you reach this point, it definitely feels much lighter. You're gonna start to experience things in a different way, much, much different. And it's not that easy to explain, but look at it this way. Let's say if you're an empath, right? You're going to be able to be in a room where there's all kinds of chaos and drama going on. And it's not going to affect you anymore the way it used to in the past, because you're not going to be reactive the same way you would have with this past version of yourself. You have a much different understanding of life than you did before. It's I don't know, it's hard to explain something like this. But you will know when it happens to you. Trust me. It's a very gradual, natural process that, for some might happen quicker than others. For me, it took me a long time to figure things out throughout my life. But then I've reached this point where I started seeing things as they truly were. The best way I can put to you guys is that, these last 3 months of my life, I went through this turbo process of healing. 21 years of my existence in such a fast manner that it was a pretty deep experience, to say the least. Very painful as well, especially in the beginning. But then you go through that, and it's like, if you start doing some retrospective and looking at yourself or who you used to be, you don't even recognize yourself anymore. It's a beautiful thing, though. So I know I haven't been around that much for the past few days and stuff, but and this is why I'm making this video. The reason why, I'm talking about this specific subject is that, for me personally, like this past Sunday, I made a huge decision and I took action on it. And to make a long story short, because I don't really want to get into details, it doesn't really matter. But I made this decision this past Sunday to basically walk away from everything and everyone that's been around myself for the past 21 years of my life. And it took me a while to actually act upon it. I have known about this for quite some time now. I have been feeling this for a good amount of time, but I never truly faced it in the past because I hadn't healed enough to have what it takes to do something like this, and to know and understand that sometimes we have to act upon things no matter how much we deny it to ourselves. And the longer you stretch this kind of stuff, especially if you've been telling yourself these things for a while and you've been feeling these things, is that it's only gonna make things worse. So when you reach this point in whatever it is in your life where you feel like you've had enough of whatever it is, it doesn't really matter as long as you understand that it's okay to act upon it. Because if you really truly want to change your life meaningfully, sometimes you have to allow your old self to just die and then walk away from everything, detach from everything. Because when you do that, when you cut certain cords and connections and things like that, because of the energetic aspect of things, this video is getting long. I don't want to I don't want to drag it too long, so I'm gonna try to cut it short here. But because of the energetic aspect of things, as long as you're still entangled with some energies and certain energetic fields, frequencies, vibrations, whatever you want to call it, you're still sort of like anchored in this older version of you, older reality, whatever you want to call. And the things that you're trying to do from this point forward, wherever you're trying to get, whatever you're trying to manifest in your reality, these things will not happen, and you won't be able to attract them until you really truly cleanse it all out. Just cleanse it all out. Purge it completely. It's like that final purge that is necessary. The very final phase of your healing that you have to do it. So stop procrastinating and just do it. And have the understanding and, feel, understand, and know that the universe is always going to look out for you in the best possible way, as long as you're looking out for yourself. Nobody else can do these things for you but yourself. No one is going to come to rescue you from whatever situation you're in. You have to save yourself. You have to rescue yourself. Understand that on a deep level, because you're the only person who can do that. And when you do this, that's when everything is really truly going to change in a very meaningful way. And that's not to say that changes won't happen prior to that. They will. I've seen many in my own life. I've seen mind-boggling things. Now, if you were able to do some of these mind-boggling things before you even took this final step, can you imagine the things that will happen after that? And that's the process. That's how it works. That's life. So you graduated. You passed the test. That's what I'm talking about. That's the test. You now see things completely different. You understand what life is all about. And you now are choosing to live life on your own terms. You stop living your life for others. And now you're going to start living your life for yourself, like you should have always done it since the very beginning. Understand that and live that. And I'm telling you, a lot of things are going to happen. And it's all part of the learning process. Nothing else, nothing more. This is it. So if you're one of those people that have recently gone through all of these things, congratulations to you. Take some time off, whatever, do something, go out, celebrate yourself. Because this was a hard-earned victory, if you could say something like that. This is not something that happens every day in a person's life, in a person's journey, at all. It's beautiful. That's all it is. And that's what life is all about. So, this is really all I wanted to talk about on this. It's gotten way longer than it should have. And yeah, I love you all. And I will catch you on the next one. Keep loving yourself and take care, everyone.